Hey everybody, I'm Kimmer from the Stash in Baldwin, Wisconsin, and I'm going to show you today how to get started on a self-increasing, make any size you want, simple triangle shawl wrap. This is the one I'm working on right now. It is for our annual charity drive, which we call the YPC. We are making shawls and wraps as one of our team's donations for our charity this year, which is Turning Point in River Point, Wisconsin. So this is one that is pretty well started. It is done with a worsted weight yarn on an 8mm hook. So it's a relatively simple stitch. It's easy to Netflix and chill while you do it. As you can see, putting it on a little bit larger hook than the yarn calls for gives you a little bit more chompy of a cluster stitch. So I'm going to show you how to start one of these, which is really all you need to know, because once you get started, the way that you do it forces it to grow by each round equally. As long as you do it the correct way, it will do that, and you can make it as big and as wide and as deep as you want for whatever your purpose is. For example, this is almost ready to be a neck cowl, like a cowl scarf. A few more rounds and it can be connected in the back, and it'd be cute like that. So you can make them that small, or you can make them really big. This one, when I'm finished, will have a wingspan of approximately 5.5 to 6 feet. So it will function as a full wraparound shawl. I also think I'm going to put a border on this one. And if I do decide to do that, I will come back and add a tutorial for how to do a border where you work in sideways rows and join at the edge of the shawl at the end of each row. That it's relatively simple, but it's going to like open up a world of possibilities for you. We'll see if I get that far. So without further ado, I will show you how to start one of these, and then you can make one whenever you want. Again, any size you want. So you can make them for children or adults, in different sizes and different wingspan widths, which is where it matters for being able to grab it around yourself. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to switch to the other camera so you can see what I'm doing. So we are going to get started by tying a slip knot, but before you do that, I want you to make sure that you leave an extra long tail. Because of how we're going to start this, we definitely want to make sure that we have an extra long tail to kind of weave in for securing the starting point of this shawl. Okay, so looks like, 8 inches or so. I wouldn't do any less than 6. Okay, so go ahead and tie a slip knot, and then 3, like that. And then we're going to do a little trick. We're going to go ahead and double crochet back in that first chain, which is probably going to spread this starting slip knot open a little bit. So maybe grab a hold of it with your thumb and finger right here. And double crochet in that first chain. Once. Twice. 3 times. And 4 times. See how I'm holding on to it? Because I don't want it to slide way open. Okay, like that. And I'm still hanging on to it. I am going to chain 2. And then I'm going to double crochet again in that same place. 1. Tugging it over, tightening it. 2. Somewhere right about here, I want to crochet over that slip knot so it stops sliding. So I am purposely pushing it up towards my stitch like that. And I'm pinching right under it so it doesn't move, like this. And I'm going to double crochet, and I want my yarn right here to go around it, around that little slip knot. So a little tightly here, I'm putting in another double crochet. And one more. Notice at this point I'm crocheting over that long tail as well. Another double crochet there. Okay, so not counting my starting right here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, a chain 2 space, and 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets over the knot and over the tail. So my tail is just sticking out. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pinch at the bottom of that last stitch, somewhere in the vicinity of where that slip knot is that I crocheted over. And I'm just going to tighten this up like that. A little bit more. As tight as you can without, don't snap your yarn. So that you have something that looks about like that. All right. So that's where you end that first round. So now we're going to turn it like this so that we're at the beginning. And we're going to chain 1, and then we're going to double crochet right in that very first stitch. And then we're going to spread that very first double crochet apart from the next one, and in the space right there we're going to cluster stitch. So we're going to drop down into the space, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, insert back into that space, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and one more time, yarn over, insert into that space, pull up a loop, pull through 2. You should now have 4 loops on your hook, so your work should look like this. Yarn over and pull through all the loops. All right, and then in the next space between these 2 double crochets, you're going to do it again. Yarn over, insert into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and again, pull through 2, and again, pull through 2, 4 loops on, yarn over, pull through all 4, and again in the next space, this can get so quick for you. This is a really nice, easy wrap shawl pattern. Very repetitive, fairly simple. Not a lot of counting because you just increase at the beginning of each row. Okay, so now we're to the chain 2 space. So we're going to put a cluster stitch in the space on the right side. So the side that is up towards the top is your right side, and the side that is down on the left, on the bottom, is your left side. This stitch is reversible, so there's no right side, wrong side to your actual work. Okay? So you don't need to worry about that. So again, we're going to cluster stitch on this side of the chain 2 space. And 4 loops on, pull through all 4, and then we're going to add a double crochet by itself. Okay, and we're going to chain 1, and now we're going to do the mirror opposite. So we're going to add a single double crochet right there, in that same chain 2 space, and then we're going to do a cluster stitch in that same chain 2 space. So yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop, pull through 2. 4 loops on, pull through all. Now I bet you can guess what we do next. So we move to this space and we cluster stitch. Mirror image of the other side. Work your way down the left side. In the spaces, not the stitches. Till you get to the bottom. If you're ever not sure how many you did, just count how many loops you have on, or look at the bottoms of your stitch. You should have 3 started double crochets for a cluster stitch in a space. And when you get to the last, you are going to go ahead and put a double crochet in that starting stitch there. So when you're finished, you should have the same amount of cluster stitches on each side and the same amount of double crochets. So there's your start right here. And you got 1, 2, 3, 4, a double crochet. Here's another double crochet, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and an ending double crochet. Then you just turn. You've got this perfect little triangle, see? And from here on out, it just grows. Chain 1, double crochet in that very first turning chain, or double crochet from the row before, you know what I mean, like that. And then cluster stitch in the first space. And cluster stitch in the next space. And the next. And the next. See what I mean? It goes so quick and easy. You don't really have to think about it. You can really just tell by feel almost what you're supposed to be doing. When you get back to the center again, do the same thing as before. Cluster stitch on the inside of that double crochet in that space. And then create a new one for the next round by double crocheting a single double crochet after it. Chain 1 and then mirror image your way back down. So double crochet, cluster stitch, still in the space, the top there, and then in the next space, just keep working in the spaces, making sure that it's a mirror image of what you did on the opposite side of the triangle. It is very easy to tell if you add an extra one or don't do one, because your sides will be uneven right away. You'll be able to see it. So this is low stress. In a muscle memory, which is speed, remember, kicks in really fast on how to do this stitch. And it's almost like, it almost feels like you're just doing one single crochet. It's so fast. Now on this row, you do put a cluster stitch in this space, this last space, because on this row you put one in when you started. So remember, you need a mirror image. You want it even, and then double crochet at the top of that starting double crochet. And that's what happens, and it just grows nice and evenly as you work. And it'll just get bigger and bigger. Isn't that great? It's a very, very simple way to make a triangle shaped shawl or wrap or scarf. Very simple. You can change color, you can do whatever you want to spice it up, use striping yarn, anything like that. But it's a relatively simple stitch set, and it goes up very quickly. It makes inches quickly. The bigger the hook, the bigger the yarn, the faster it goes. I particularly like this in a DK or a worsted weight yarn on a 1 to 2 size bigger hook. It's lofty, but not super holy. So I'm going to show you the one I have going over here again so you can see a little better now what I mean. So if you look, this is where I started, right here. See? Isn't that great? And you get this pretty fabric. Okay, so I hope that helps you come up with a quick and easy scarf or shawl in a way that really doesn't require a pattern and doesn't really require you to think very hard. It makes a nice warm wrap depending on the yarn that you use. So I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial, and good luck on your project. And as always, thanks for checking in with the Stash Busters at the Stash. We'll see you next time. Happy yarning, my friends.
Yarn.